Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, June 13th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 78 days, the game against Michigan in 169 days. We're here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. I'm joined by Marc Givler of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Just wrapped up another Ohio State summer camp. And the last time we were here, we were talking all about quarterbacks and wide receivers. Today, we're not talking about any of those guys. Different position groups we were really focused on today. Some very, very strong talent here. Had the whole Glenville contingent here. We're going to talk about a Glenville linebacker in a minute. But I guess let's start with the cornerbacks. Elbert Hill, very, very highly touted 2026 cornerback. He was here. Got a chance to see him. What were your thoughts?
He's the best player in Ohio now that Chris Henry Jr. has left the state. He's an unbelievable talent. He's a ball hawk. He reminds me, maybe not so much in high school, because I don't think anyone ever knew Denzel Ward was going to be as good as Denzel Ward was. But if you can imagine what Denzel Ward turned into, that's what kind of Elbert Hill reminds me of. He's that type of guy. He's not like 6'2", but he's really quick. He's super fast, physical, has great anticipatory skills. And again, I think he's the best player in the state of Ohio right now.
He feels to me, just looking at him, he feels like he could be someone who plays inside at least some at the college level. Do you get that sense, or is he a pure outside guy to you?
No, he could play all over. I mean, he could probably even play safety if he wanted to. He's a dynamic return man. He plays receiver for Hoban. He can pretty much do anything you want him to do on the football field. So yeah, I think he could play inside or out.
They obviously have a very, very strong 2025 corner class already. Already got a couple guys in. You got another couple guys who you're maybe looking at. Is he potentially the start of the 2026 corner class? Where do you think things stand with him and the Buckeyes right now?
Yeah, I think a lot would have to go sideways for Ohio State to not get Elbert Hill at this point. And when do these kids wake up and decide it's time? I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if it was early. I think they're in very commanding position for him. And for me, again, it's more of a matter of when that's going to happen at this point. He's got a great relationship with Tim Walton, and Ohio State was one of the first schools to offer him, so it's not like they slow played him or anything like that. They got in there very early before he had kind of blown up nationally. So, yeah, it looks very good.
And he's someone we have seen a lot at various games. You'll see him coming down the tunnel at Ohio State for games, a whole bunch. You see Glenville guys there all the time as well at those games. Obviously, that's a real, true pipeline program for the Buckeyes and has been for decades. They brought the bus down today from Glenville. One of the first guy off the bus kind of types for that Glenville team, even on a very physically imposing Glenville team, is Sincere Johnson, linebacker for 2026. He was, one of the, sometimes, we talk about, you can just kind of look at the group and go, that's the guy who is, an Ohio State caliber player. Just looking at the size, he sort of fits that bill.
Yeah, super physical kid, big, strong kid. Has that body type where you're not quite sure. Is he going to be a jack? Is he going to be a linebacker? Kind of put a hand in the dirt. I think he kind of is more of a jack, and hopefully we'll see that in the fall. I think Ohio State plans on using that much more in the fall. But I think that's maybe where he's going to have to slide in. I know James Lord might have spent a lot of time with him today, both during and after camp. Really not the setting you would expect him to thrive in, but I thought he did very well, so that was encouraging. He's 225, 230 pounds already. More of like if he's not going to play jack, he's more of a Mike. He's not really a walkout guy like a Sonny Styles is. So you would expect him maybe in these settings to maybe not be as good, but he actually did a great job in coverage today.
It's interesting that you're looking at him as, he might be a jack. You've already talked about Justin Hill as might be a jack. There's a couple of guys in 2026. So, if they're going to pursue that, you would think you'd have to see that on the field this fall.
Yeah, I think, and I'm actually going to see Justin later after we record this. Justin's definitely being recruited to play the jack, and so they're going to. I fully believe they're going to show it this fall because they've talked too much about it with some of these recruits. Where if you talk so much about it and then you don't put it on the field in the fall, you're not going to get those kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think we are going to see it this fall.
And Sincere Johnson was not the only impressive in-state linebacker here today. There were a couple others as well.
Cam Thomas, Lakota West, Storm Miller, Strongsville, two guys who potentially are offer guys for Ohio State. This is maybe the deepest linebacker class in Ohio in a long time. There's 5 or 6 linebackers in Ohio in 26 that if Ohio State offered them, I wouldn't really blink. So this is an incredibly deep 2026 class. I think Ohio State's going to end up getting at least 2 linebackers out of it.
Yeah, that's certainly a position where you would expect them to try and get 2-3 a year, just because they're generally in the 4.25, and Sometimes the linebackers turn into defensive ends, and so we'll see where that ends up. Last spot that we need to talk about was this is a really good group of offensive linemen as well. One in-state prospect who I think is probably going to be familiar to anyone who follows recruiting, and someone we've seen a bunch as well coming down the tunnel at Ohio State games, frequent visitor, and also a 5-star out-of-state prospect as well.
Yes, so Sam Greer from Akron-Hoban was here. For my money, very possibly, and probably the top offensive line prospect in Ohio. He's a true tackle. And you got these other guys, Max Riley, Will Conroy, who I think are all national. They're all national kids. I love them all. There's 3 of my top 5 players in Ohio. But Greer's the pure tackle of the group. He was out there today. He had some injury issues last year. It kind of cost him some time, but I was impressed with him in the state championship. I was impressed with him late in the season when he was playing. And liked what I saw of him today. He's put on some good weight. He seems a lot bigger, especially like in his upper body. Filling out as kind of a basketball player by trade, and he's kind of developed into this tackle prospect. So I thought he was really good today. That's a guy I think they're in pretty good shape for at this point. The interesting guy was Manny Iannaccio out of Bethesda, Maryland, a top 10 player in the 2026 class, offensive tackle, 5-star prospect. He loves Ohio State. This is interesting to me because they've got 4 kids in Ohio that I think they could take at offensive line in 26. You got Deron Parks right down the road in West Virginia in 26. You got Champ Smith in Florida in 26. And now you got Iannaccio visiting and gushing about Justin Frye in Ohio State. So this is teed up for Justin Frye as well as it can be. They have to get 5 or 6 absolute studs next year, and there's really no excuse not to with the way things are teed up right now.
Well, and 25, they're in decent shape as well right now, where you've got a solid core of in-state guys, and then you're still chasing a David Sanders, for example. It feels like if you can build the class on, you build the foundation of class. We've said this a million times. On you get a couple, 2, 3 in-state guys, and then you can go find the guys, whether it's West Virginia or David Sanders in North Carolina or Maryland. I mean, you're not asking someone to come from across the country. It feels like after a couple of years of okay, but not incredible offensive line classes, they are set up to have a 25 and a 26 where you get at least, sort of the Paris Johnson class where you get the 1 5-star guy and you get a couple other guys who you're kind of building block pieces that you could stack a couple really good offensive line classes here based at least more than 50% in Ohio.
I'll say it. I'll go on record right now. Their 2026 offensive line class will be the best Ohio State offensive line class in more than 15 years.
That's how good it's going to be. Going back to like the Brew Crew?
I would go back to like the year where they got a bunch of guys in state. It was Muhort, Lindsley, Marcus Hall, that group. And that would have been 2009?
Okay, yeah.
I think that was 2009.
Yeah.
So we're talking 17 years of separation there?
Yeah.
This one might be better. They've got 3 national kids just in Ohio. They got a 4th kid in Adam Guthrie, who I really like, who might be that type of player. And then you've got Champ Smith, Deron Parks, Iannaccio. You get 5 of those guys.
Yeah.
I can't remember a better Ohio State offensive line class.
Is there a scenario where they take 6 offensive linemen in a class, or is that just yeah?
I think I would go so far. None of these guys, other than David Sanders, none of these guys you're recruiting right now in 25 are going to help you next year. They're not ready. They're not going to be ready. So don't reach. Take 4. Cap it at 4. If you need some plug and plays, you can always go to the portal in the offseason because that's going to be a better way to build your 25 line anyway. You're not going to plug and play a freshman. And I would take, quite frankly, we just mentioned 7 guys. If all 7 of them wanted to sign with Ohio State, I would take all 7. But I think you load up next year and take a 6. I really do.
It feels like this is sort of the brave new era of roster management where, first of all, they're under right now. They do not have 85 scholarship guys, and they're going to lose a ton of guys after this season. So you're going to have a big class this year. With the way people use the portal, where you'll have guys there for 6 months and then boom, out. That it's not unheard of to have a situation where you have a guy there for a short term. If you take everyone, and it's not going to work for everyone just because of the way the numbers work, and that's okay. And you're not doomed to go sit for a year. You can go hop in the portal, find another spot, and start your career there.
And I think offensive linemen, you generally get a longer runway with. Most freshman offensive linemen, other than, again, like the David Sanders types of the world, aren't really expecting to play as true freshmen. That's the one position. Yeah, if it's a receiver, if it's a running back, you better get him out there. If it's a defensive end or even like a corner, better get him out. Find a way to get him out on the field. The offensive linemen, I think a lot of these guys come in with the mentality of, yeah, I'm not gonna start. Like they're gonna rebuild my body. They're gonna, show me how technique-wise. A lot of these guys aren't coming in very, technically sound compared to some of the other positions. It's just a very difficult position to coach. So I think you get a little more runaway out of those guys. So I think if you take a 6-man class, you can get 2 years out of all of them and really funnel them through to find out who the best guys are. And then, you're not going to keep all 6 all the way through their careers. That's unlikely. But it's not like you're going to lose 3 of them after a year.
All right, well, we are going to wrap it up here, but Mark, as he mentioned earlier, is about to head over to go watch Justin Hill and a whole bunch of other players at a whole different camp. It is camp season here in Ohio, and we are staying very busy at BuckeyeHuddle.com, covering a bunch of those here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We'll be back for a couple of those again next week as we sort of wrap up the summer camp season. But of course, all around Ohio, as we're covering recruiting camps and all that kind of stuff as well. So make sure you check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com, where we have our annual membership sale wrapping up very, very soon, a matter of days. Sign up today. Don't get mad at me later if you don't sign up and get the 40% discount. Sign up today at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Get about 40% off your annual membership. That'll cover you through the whole season, through the whole recruiting period, signing period next year, spring ball, all the way through summer camp season next year as well. So sign up today at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And of course, you can find us on YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle as well. Make sure you are liking us and subscribing us there. Subscribe to us there so you never miss a thing. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.